Hey everyone. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to handle tough situations way better than others?
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, it is. Like some people just kind of roll with the punches,
Uh-huh.
and other people just seem to get totally knocked down. Today we're going to be talking all about resilience, that
Yes.
ability to bounce back from challenges and tough times.
Yeah, it is fascinating, isn't it? We tend to think about resilient people as being sort of unbreakable, like they don't feel the impact of things.
Right, right.
But it's not really about never feeling it. It's really more about how you respond to things when they happen.
So true. Yeah, it's like everyone gets rained on in life, right?
Yeah,
Some people just have like better umbrellas or something.
exactly. And the cool thing is that umbrella is not something you're necessarily born with. It's a skill that you can actually build.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
learning to play an instrument or write code, it's a skill.
Okay, that's already making me feel a little bit more empowered. Like I have some control over this. But where do we even begin? Like, what are the building blocks, I guess you could say, of a resilient person?
Well, research shows that there's a bunch of different traits that kind of come together, but
Mhm.
one of the most important ones that always seems to come up is this thing called a growth mindset.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Have you?
Yeah, but to be honest, it's always sounded a little bit too self-helpy to me.
Oh, we don't even.
Just think positive and everything will magically be okay.
Yeah, yeah. I get it. It's definitely deeper than just kind of like putting on these rose-colored glasses and pretend everything's fine.
Right.
It's more about how you interpret the challenges that you face in life. So let's say, for example, you completely bomb a presentation at work.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody with a fixed mindset, what they might think is, oh man, I'm just bad at this. I'm never going to be good at this.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, it just totally kills your confidence. But somebody with a growth mindset, they would actually reframe that.
Okay.
They'd say, okay, well, that really sucked, but what went wrong? Right.
And what can I learn from this so that next time I do a presentation, it goes better? So it's more about seeing these setbacks as like data points, not like a defining sentence.
Okay, so instead of I'm a failure,
Mm.
it's I failed at this particular thing,
Yeah,
but now I have more information for next time.
exactly.
It's almost like a video game.
Yes.
You level up by fighting those tough bosses.
I love that analogy.
Oh, it's perfect.
You learn by doing.
Yeah, there are so many techniques that people have developed. Dr. Carol Dweck, she does some amazing work about how to actually cultivate a growth mindset.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of it is just practice. Like with any skill, right? The more you practice, the better you get at it.
Okay, so we're building that growth mindset muscle.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the blocks.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else can we do to kind of flex our resilience?
Another big one is emotional regulation. Now, this doesn't mean you
Ooh.
have to become like an emotionless robot.
Okay, good. Because I would be so bad at that.
You and me both.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very much like I wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person.
That's good. That's good. Resilient people aren't immune to feelings. It's not that you don't feel things.
Yep.
You just don't let those feelings totally control you.
Right.
Like imagine that your emotions are kind of like the weather.
Okay.
Sometimes it's sunny and beautiful and everything's great. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's, like a hurricane.
Oh, I feel that. Yeah, sometimes I am the hurricane.
We all are in our own ways. Emotional regulation is really about building your inner meteorologist. So you noticed the storms happening.
Yeah.
You know how powerful it is. But you also know that it's going to pass.
Yeah.
And you have the tools to kind of keep yourself safe until it does pass.
So instead of getting swept away by the floodwaters, you're like, okay, I've got my raincoat, I've got my emergency kit, I can get through this.
Exactly. And that kit can be different for everyone. It could be journaling or deep breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's calling a friend who, is really good at calming you down. The important thing is to kind of figure out what those tools are before the hurricane hits.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This is already making me rethink like how I approach stressful situations in general.
Yeah.
So we've got growth mindset, we've got emotional regulation. What else is on the resilience checklist?
Another really important piece of the puzzle is your support system.
Okay.
Humans are naturally social creatures.
Which is funny because when I'm stressed, I kind of just want to like hibernate
Yeah,
and never talk to anyone.
I get it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Resilience actually thrives in connection with other people. Like if you think way back in the day, if you got kicked out of your tribe,
Ooh, yeah.
yeah, you were kind of doomed, right?
Pretty much.
Like you needed your tribe to survive, and our brains are still wired for that,
Right.
to seek safety in numbers, especially when things are hard.
So true, yeah. So how do we find those people? I guess for me, that's a big question. Like, how do I make those connections if I'm feeling kind of isolated?
Right. That's such a good question, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with. And to be honest, there's no magic one-size-fits-all answer. You know what I mean?
Right.
For some people, it might be about kind of rekindling those old relationships they already have,
Oh, yeah.
reaching out to friends they haven't talked to in a while, or maybe joining a club or a group that does something they're interested in.
Okay.
But for other people, it might be more about just putting themselves out there in new ways, like taking a class or volunteering somewhere, or even just like starting conversations with people they meet in their daily lives.
Okay.
You know, the main thing is to just be open to making those connections and to remember that building relationships takes time. It's not something that happens overnight.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be something you kind of work at, and you got to have patience.
Exactly.
I can do that.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got growth mindset. We've got emotional regulation. We've got strong connections as our foundation. What else? What else helps build that resilient core?
This one might sound a little bit, I don't know, maybe woo-woo, but stick with me. It's purpose and perspective.
Ooh. Okay, now we're getting existential. Does this mean I have to go on like a soul-searching retreat in the mountains?
I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. But it doesn't have to be that intense. It's really more about figuring out what your North Star is.
I north a star.
Yeah, like what's that thing that really matters to you? What gets you out of bed in the morning, even when it's tough?
Okay, I think I understand. It's kind of like connecting the dots between what you're doing and why it actually matters.
You got it. And that why can be incredibly powerful, like fuel for your life. You know, think about Viktor Frankl. He survived concentration camps, and a lot of people think it's because he had this really strong sense of purpose. His purpose was to help other people find meaning in their suffering.
Wow. Yeah, that's a heavy but also really inspiring example.
Right. So even in those darkest of times, having that sense of purpose can really help you get through it.
So it's like a lifeline.
It can be.
Yeah.
And it also helps you keep things in perspective, you know? Like, let's say you get passed over for a promotion at work.
Okay.
That's devastating, right? But if your main purpose in life is, let's say, being an amazing parent,
Right.
that setback might not feel as bad because you realize that your worth isn't just tied to your job title.
So it's like zooming out on the map of your life.
Exactly.
Like one roadblock doesn't mean you're totally lost. You can just find another route.
That's a great way to put it. And, you know, purpose doesn't have to be this grand world-changing thing. It can be as simple as wanting to be a reliable friend
Right.
or learning a new skill, you
Yeah.
know? It's really personal and it changes over time.
I love that. So it's not about like finding this one perfect purpose and sticking to it forever. It's more about paying attention to what lights you up and letting that guide you.
Exactly. And that brings us to the last piece of the puzzle, self-compassion.
Okay. Self-compassion. I feel like that's such a buzzword these days. And I'll be honest, I struggle with it. Like, it's way easier to be kind to other people than I am to myself.
That's incredibly common, actually. A lot of us have this inner critic, you know? That's just way harsher on us than we would ever be to a friend. So imagine for a second that your best friend makes a mistake.
Okay.
What do you say to them?
I'd probably say something like, hey, it's okay. Everyone messes up sometimes. What can we learn from this?
Exactly. Now imagine that you made that same mistake. What do you say to yourself?
Oh, it's totally different. I'd be like, you idiot, you should have known better. Now you've ruined everything.
Right. That's that inner critic talking. And self-compassion is really about learning to talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love.
Okay, so instead of beating myself up, I offer myself the same understanding and kindness that I would give a friend.
Exactly.
That's kind of a revolutionary idea when you think about it.
It is. And it doesn't mean that you just ignore your mistakes or let yourself off the hook for everything. It's about recognizing that everybody makes mistakes. You're human.
Right.
And treating yourself with grace and understanding when those mistakes happen.
Okay. So we've got growth mindset, emotional regulation, strong connections, purpose, and now self-compassion. I'm sensing a theme here. It's like resilience isn't about being tough on yourself. It's more about having your own back, like
Yeah.
in a really supportive way.
I love that. You put that perfectly. And you know, all these things that we've been talking about, they all work together. They're like threads that are woven together to create this resilience umbrella that we talked about earlier.
Right. I get it.
Now, I know you're probably thinking, this is all great in theory,
Yeah.
but how do we actually build these qualities in ourselves?
Yeah, how do we put it into action? That's what I want to know.
I love your enthusiasm. And luckily, There are a ton of practical strategies that you can start using right away.
Awesome.
But we're going to have to save those for the next part of our conversation.
Okay, I can't wait.
So ready to turn those resilience threads into like a full-blown shield?
Yes.
Yes.
I am so ready for like the actionable steps,
Mhm.
the stuff that we can actually do to make a difference in our lives.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the most simple but powerful things that you can do is practice gratitude.
Okay, gratitude.
Yeah.
I get that it's good to be thankful and all, but how much does that really help with resilience? It seems kind of, I don't know, basic.
It might seem basic, but that's kind of the beauty of it, you know? It's something that everyone can do no matter what they're going through. And research actually shows that it has a huge impact on our brains. Like it literally changes how we process stress.
So it's not just about feeling good. There's actual science to back this up.
Oh yeah, big time. When we focus on things that we're grateful for, even when things are tough, our brains actually release these chemicals.
Oh,
Dopamine and serotonin, they're the feel-good chemicals. And over time, this actually rewires our brains, making us less reactive to stress.
so it's like we're building up this positivity savings account that we can draw from when times get tough.
I love that. That's a great way to think about it. And the best part is it doesn't have to be these huge, epic things that you're grateful for.
Okay.
It can be as simple as like a good cup of coffee in the morning, a funny text message you got from a friend, even just the fact that you woke up this morning.
Okay, yeah.
Those all count.
Okay. I can feel my inner cynic like rolling their eyes a little bit. But I'm willing to give it a try. So how do we actually practice gratitude? Does it have to be like all chanting and incense and stuff?
Huh. Not unless you want it to be. The easiest way is just to start a gratitude journal.
Okay.
Just like jot down a few things each day that you're thankful for. Even just thinking about those things before bed. Like making a mental list can make a huge difference.
I'm more of a doing person than a writing person. Are there like more active ways to cultivate gratitude?
For sure. One of my favorite things to do is to just express my gratitude directly to other people.
Oh,
Like writing a thank you note or giving someone a call just to tell them you appreciate them. Even just giving a genuine compliment to a stranger can make their day, and it makes you feel good too.
okay, I like that. So gratitude is more of an action than just a feeling.
Exactly. What else can we add to our resilience toolkit?
What else?
This one might sound kind of preachy, but taking care of your physical health, it's often the first thing to go when we get stressed out, right?
Oh, yeah, totally. Sleep is for the weak, right?
Haha.
Vegetables are like some kind of weird government conspiracy.
Right.
And exercise, it just doesn't happen.
That's so understandable. But the thing is, our minds and our bodies are not actually separate. They're
Okay.
super connected. So when you don't take care of your physical needs, it's like you're sabotaging your mental resilience.
So it's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach and with flat tires.
Perfect analogy. We need that fuel. We need that maintenance to perform at our best, especially when we're facing challenges.
Okay, so what does taking care actually look like? Is it all kale smoothies and marathons?
Uh-huh. No, not at all. Unless that's your thing, of course. It's really about finding what works for you.
Right, right.
Maybe it's just, swapping out that late night Netflix binge for an extra hour of sleep,
Okay.
or adding in a 15-minute walk to your day, even if it's just around the block.
Yeah, that feels a lot more manageable. Small steps, consistency.
Mm.
What about food? I'm a stress eater, like big time.
We've all been there. Think of food as information you're giving your brain.
Oh, okay.
A diet full of processed stuff, it's like sending your brain a bunch of spam emails.
Oh, I like that. It just clogs up the system.
Exactly. So we want to give it that good, nutrient-dense information.
Okay, less junk food spam.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Maybe it's just adding a piece of fruit to your breakfast or swapping out soda for water more often. Even small changes can make a big difference over time.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
Mm-hmm.
Gratitude, self-care.
Mm.
We're like building this base of well-being.
Yeah.
But what about when we're in the middle of something really tough? Like we're facing a huge challenge.
That's where the doing part really comes in. And one of the best things you can do is break down those big goals or problems into smaller, more manageable pieces.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I'm a list maker.
Perfect.
I love checking things off.
You're already ahead of the game because when we feel overwhelmed, our brains kind of go into freeze mode,
Yeah.
But if you take a big task and break it down into smaller steps, it suddenly doesn't feel as scary.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant?
Yes.
One bite at a time.
Exactly. And each bite, even if it's tiny, gives you that little hit of dopamine.
Oh, nice.
That reward chemical in your brain that says, hey, you did something. You're making progress.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that this is backed by brain science.
It is. It literally rewires your brain to be more action-oriented. It's like training for a marathon. You don't
Right.
just start by running 26 miles, right? You got to build up to it.
So instead of saying, I have to write this whole thesis, it's, I'm going to write one paragraph today.
Exactly.
Way less intimidating.
Way less intimidating.
Okay, so we've got that internal stuff, gratitude, self-care, and now this external strategy of breaking things down.
Yes.
What else helps us deal with those curveballs that life throws our way?
This one might surprise you. Creating routines.
Routines. Okay.
I know, it sounds kind of rigid, right?
I'm kind of a free spirit, so routines feel a little suffocating.
I get that. But think of it less like a strict schedule and more like a supportive framework
Okay.
for your day, especially when things are chaotic around you. Having those little anchors of predictability can actually be incredibly grounding.
Okay, that makes sense. Like, even if everything else is falling apart, I still brush my teeth every day.
Exactly.
It's just like this little pocket of normalcy.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be super detailed either. Maybe it's just having a consistent wake-up time or a set work schedule or a little ritual that you do before you go to bed to help you unwind.
So it's more about creating a rhythm that works for me rather than being totally rigid.
You got it. And bonus, routines help reduce decision fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
When you're already stressed out, having those things on autopilot frees up mental energy for the more important stuff.
Okay, huge selling point. I am the queen of overthinking even the smallest decisions.
I hear you.
So routines equals less mental clutter.
Less mental clutter.
Mm-hmm.
And more bandwidth to deal with challenges. It's like decluttering your house, right?
Right.
You make space for the things that really matter.
I'm starting to feel like we've got this really powerful toolkit going on.
You do.
Talked about so much.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other must-have strategies for building resilience?
Absolutely. There are a ton, and we're going to talk about those in our next conversation. But until then,
Okay.
why not try implementing just one of these things that we talked about today and see how it changes your week?
That's a great idea. We'll check back in with you all soon to see how those resilience muscles are developing. Welcome back, everyone. So we've been talking about all this great stuff, building those healthy habits, learning how to shift our mindset. But what about those moments where the stress still manages to, creep in?
Yeah.
What do we do when we feel that fight or flight response kicking in?
That's the big question, right? And while we can't completely avoid stress, we can learn to manage it more effectively.
Okay.
And one of the things that has been a game changer for me is mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay. I've heard that word so many times.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, it makes me think of monks chanting on a mountaintop, which is not really my thing.
I know, right? It's become such a buzzword, it's almost lost its meaning.
Yeah.
But at its core, mindfulness is really just about paying attention to the present moment.
Okay.
Without judgment. So noticing your breath, the feeling of your feet on the ground, or even just the taste of your coffee.
So instead of getting caught up in all those worries and those what ifs and anxieties about the future,
Yeah.
you're just observing what's happening right now.
Exactly. And that observing creates a little bit of space between you and your reactions. It's like, imagine you're watching a movie, even a really intense one.
Okay.
You can feel the emotions, but it's not actually happening to you, right?
Ooh, I like that. So it's like building that observer part of ourselves, even when things feel chaotic around us.
Yeah.
But how do you actually do that? Does it have to be all sitting cross-legged and humming?
Well, you can if that works for you, but mindfulness can really be practiced anywhere, anytime.
Okay.
There's formal meditations, of course, but you can also just take a few deep breaths when you're waiting in line at the grocery store,
Right.
or really savor each bite of your lunch.
So it's more about just bringing that awareness to whatever you're already doing.
Exactly.
Okay, that I can do. I think even I can handle that.
And the cool thing is even a few minutes a day can really make a difference. It's like training your calm down muscle.
I like that. Okay, so mindfulness helps us kind of tame that, stress monster.
Yeah.
But what about when we just need to release some of that pent-up energy?
Right.
Because sometimes, honestly, I just want to scream into a pillow.
I've been there. That's where exercise comes in.
Okay.
It's like a magic potion for your mind and body.
I know. Exercise is good for you.
It is.
But when I'm stressed, the last thing I want to do is I go sweat and get all out of breath. It just feels like more stress.
Right. But here's the thing. Stress is actually a physiological response. It's like all these hormones are coursing through your body.
Yeah.
And exercise actually helps you process those hormones. It's kind of like flushing out a clogged system.
So it's not about punishing myself when I'm already feeling down.
Yeah.
It's more about helping my body, like, process all that stuff.
Exactly. And the other great thing about exercise is it releases endorphins.
Oh, yeah.
Those feel-good chemicals, right? So not only are you reducing those stress hormones, you're also getting a mood boost.
Okay, you've convinced me.
Yeah.
But does it have to be some crazy intense workout?
No, not at all.
Because honestly, I'm more of a yoga in the park kind of person.
That's awesome. The key is to find something you enjoy that you can actually fit into your life. It could be a 20-minute walk, dancing to your favorite music, even just stretching while you're watching TV. It all counts.
Okay, I love that it doesn't have to be this rigid, prescriptive thing. It's just about moving your body in a way that feels good.
Exactly.
So we've got mindfulness for the mind, we've got exercise for the body. What else helps us build up that resilience?
This one might seem counterintuitive, but setting boundaries is a huge part of resilience.
Ooh, boundaries.
Yeah.
That's a tough one for me. I'm such a people pleaser. So saying no to people feels like I'm letting them down.
But I bet you end up letting yourself down in the process.
Yeah, true.
Right. Here's a different way to think about it. Boundaries aren't selfish, they're self-preservation. Think about it like those oxygen masks on an airplane. You have to put yours on first before you can help anyone else.
Ooh, that's a really good analogy.
Right.
So it's not about being mean or uncaring. It's about making sure that I have the resources to actually show up for the people in my life,
Exactly.
including myself.
Exactly. And boundaries can be big or small. It could be saying no to that extra project at work or limiting your time on social media.
Right.
Or even just making sure you get enough sleep. It's all about honoring your own needs.
This is making me realize how often I say yes to things out of guilt or obligation.
Yeah.
And then I end up feeling resentful and
Yeah.
totally burned out.
Yeah.
No wonder my resilience is so low.
It's a super common pattern. But the more you practice setting boundaries, the easier it gets. And the people in your life who really care about you, they'll understand and they'll respect your limits.
Okay, I am definitely going to try to be more mindful about where I'm putting my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So mindfulness, movement, boundaries. What else? Are there any other secret weapons in this resilience arsenal?
Well, I've saved the best for last. Don't underestimate the power of cultivating a sense of humor.
Okay, now this I can get behind.
Yeah.
I love a good laugh.
Yeah.
Even when things feel like they're falling apart.
Exactly. Humor is such a powerful coping mechanism. It
Wow.
helps us reframe situations, find the absurdity in things, and just kind of detach from the intensity of it all.
Yeah, it's like if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Right.
But laughing is so much more fun.
Way more fun, and it's actually healthier, too. Laughing releases endorphins,
Oh, nice.
reduces stress hormones, and can even boost your immune system.
Wow.
It's like a mini vacation for your brain.
So it's not about pretending that the hard stuff isn't happening. It's more about finding those moments of lightness to help us keep perspective.
Exactly. Like, even if you trip and fall, at least you can laugh at yourself, right?
Exactly. Okay, so instead of waiting for funny things to happen, we can actually be more proactive about finding humor.
Yes.
It's like a superpower we can tap into anytime.
It is, and it makes the journey so much more enjoyable. Because building resilience isn't about becoming this, stoic, unfeeling robot. It's about learning to ride the waves of life with more grace and strength and, yes, even a little bit of laughter.
This has been such an amazing conversation. I feel like we've gone from blueprints to, a fully furnished resilience house.
I love that.
Ready to weather any storm.
You are. Remember, resilience is a journey, not a destination. It's something we're constantly working on. Strengthening one choice at a time, one step at a time, one laugh at a time.
And the best part is, this is something that's available to everyone. It doesn't matter what you've been through. You have the power to build resilience. So go out there, put these tools into practice, and most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself along the way.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into resilience. And until next time, stay strong, stay connected, and stay laughing, everyone.
Yeah.